There is a version of you that already knows how this story ends. Not the one you see in the mirror today, tired, burdened, and questioning your place in the world, but the one who wakes up already grateful because the dream isn't a dream anymore. It's a reality. But here's the problem. Most people wait for success to arrive before they begin to feel successful. They wait for the money before they think like a wealthy person. They wait for recognition before they walk with confidence. They wait for love before they start loving themselves. And in that waiting, they delay the very thing they desire. Success doesn't come to those who wait in silence. It comes to those who dare to act as if it's already knocking at the door. So, let me ask you something. What if your biggest success was scheduled to arrive tomorrow morning? How would you walk today? How would you speak? How would you treat your life? You see, the truth is that life is responding not to what you hope for, but to what you believe. And your belief is not proven by your words. It's revealed in your posture, in your decisions, in your vibration. The greatest shift you'll ever make is when you stop living in reaction to your current conditions and start living in alignment with your divine outcome. This isn't pretending, it's prophesying. It's choosing to live in the energy of what's coming, not what's lacking. The old you, the one who begged, who doubted, who needed validation, has no place in the world you're building. That version of you can't enter the promise. You've been through too much to walk timidly now. You've cried too many nights to question your worth now. You've survived storms that were meant to break you, don't you see? You've already been qualified by pain. Now act like someone who's about to be crowned by glory, because the crown doesn't go to the one who waits quietly. It goes to the one who walks like it already fits. Acting as if your success is coming isn't delusion. It's discipline. It's mastery of your emotions when nothing outside agrees with your desire. It's waking up with intention, not because the world told you to, but because your future demands it. It's treating yourself with the respect of someone who is already chosen, already worthy, already walking in the season that hasn't fully arrived yet. You must stop negotiating with your fears. Stop having conversations with your limitations. You've been apologizing for your light long enough. It's time to act like you're ready, because readiness isn't a feeling, it's a decision. And your decision activates the momentum that's been waiting in the unseen. Imagine this. The universe is always listening, not just to your words, but to your energy. When you carry yourself like someone who has already received what they asked for, the universe rearranges itself to match your certainty. But when you walk in hesitation, when you speak in doubt, when you shrink in rooms you were meant to dominate, you send the wrong signal. You confirm that you don't believe it yet, and so it waits. Your job isn't to make it happen. Your job is to act as if it's already done. That's the difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck. One lives by current circumstances. The other lives by future certainty. The one who acts as if doesn't ignore the facts, but they serve a higher truth. A truth that says, I was made for more. I am already connected to the outcome I seek. I'm not waiting, I'm walking. The world will tell you to be realistic, to be patient, to stay humble. But acting as if your success is coming doesn't violate humility. It demonstrates faith. Because faith is not silent. Faith is not passive. Faith walks ahead of results. It builds while others are waiting. It moves while others are sleeping. It smiles while others are doubting. So now the question is, can you carry yourself as if the world has already said yes, even when all you hear is silence? That's where greatness is born, not when everything is clear, but when you keep walking in the fog. When your heart says go, but your mind screams wait. When nothing external gives you permission, yet you grant it to yourself. That's when you become unstoppable. Because now you're not waiting for life, you've become life in motion. Every time you sit in silence and visualize your future self, you are watering the roots of your destiny. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you are clearing the path for miracles. Every time you speak your dream out loud with unwavering belief, even if nobody claps, the universe takes notes. It's not about acting for show. It's about alignment. It's about internal certainty so deep that your circumstances have no choice but to surrender. Because here's the truth. They don't lead you, you lead them. Your reality bends when your identity is solid, and your identity becomes solid when you embody the outcome before it arrives. Let this settle deep. The future doesn't begin when you achieve something. The future begins when you believe something, and belief isn't passive. Belief moves, it stretches, it transforms your voice, your posture, your thoughts, your presence. People who know who they are don't need to shout. Their presence speaks. They walk into rooms and shift atmospheres, not because of arrogance, but because of divine alignment. You have to begin moving in a way that honors where you're going, not where you've been. Stop dressing like the version of you that's surviving. Start walking like the version that's thriving. Stop telling your old story at new tables. Stop explaining your worth to people who never had the eyes to see it. If you want to meet your biggest success, you have to leave your smallest self behind. Don't ask for permission to rise. Don't wait for someone to choose you. Choose yourself. That's what acting as if really means. It means living in the vibration of I am already chosen. It means praying like the door is already open, speaking like the opportunity is already yours, showing up like the blessing has already been delivered. There will be moments where doubt tries to take the stage again, where the voice of your past whispers that nothing is changing. But this is where champions are made, in the quiet moments, in the unseen rehearsals, when no one is clapping but you still rehearse your acceptance speech, when no one is watching but you still prepare your success strategy. That's acting as if, and that's what builds momentum. Faith without action is fantasy, but faith with action is manifestation. And acting as if is action soaked in faith. It's walking in the rain as if the sun has already broken through the clouds. It's treating today as the rehearsal for tomorrow's miracle. It's preparing a place at the table before the invitation has even arrived. You are not faking anything. You are aligning. You are not lying to yourself. You are liberating yourself, because deep down you already know it's coming. You just needed someone to remind you that it's okay to live like it's already here. Look around you. The people you admire, the ones who made it, they didn't wait for confirmation. They moved in expectation. They celebrated before the victory. They cried, yes, they doubted, of course. But then they stood up, adjusted their crown, and walked like it was already done. And now it is. So walk like it's your season. Speak like doors are opening. Think like wealth is on the way. Smile like the battle is already won. Let your actions whisper to the world, watch me. Not because you need their validation, but because you've already seen the end, and you're walking it out now. You are not waiting for your biggest success. You are becoming the version of you who's already living it. That is the power of acting as if. We live in a universe that doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to certainty. And this certainty is not found in your circumstances. It is rooted in your mind, anchored in your spirit, and radiated through your actions. Acting as if is not just a motivational idea, it's a deeply spiritual law and a psychological strategy that rewires your destiny. You see, every thought you think is a command. Every emotion you feel is a vibration. And every action you take is a signal you're broadcasting to the universe. So when you act as if, you're not pretending, you're programming. You're tuning your frequency to the reality you desire until it becomes so familiar, so rehearsed, that life has no choice but to deliver it. There's a powerful principle in neuroscience called Hebbian learning. It says, neurons that fire together wire together. In simple terms, what you repeatedly think, feel, and act upon becomes your new reality, not just emotionally, but physically. When you act as if your biggest success is coming, your brain begins to build new networks. You actually become someone who can receive that success. Let that settle in. Acting as if creates the mental roads your future travels on. When you walk like you're successful, your brain releases chemicals to match that state. When you visualize your breakthrough with emotion, your subconscious starts believing it's already real. And when your body feels that truth, your energy becomes magnetic. That's not magic, it's science. But it's also spiritual, because the spirit doesn't speak in facts. It speaks in faith. And faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So when you act as if you're already walking in the promise, your spirit rejoices, your soul aligns, your life starts catching up with the vision you've already embraced internally. And here's where most people fall short. They wait for physical proof before they trust. But that's not trust, that's observation. Trust is saying, I'll move first. Trust is showing up with full energy even when the room is empty. Trust is preparing your speech before the invitation. Trust is dressing for the job before the interview. It's living like the manifestation already happened. And the universe, God, life, it doesn't reward the hesitant. It rewards the aligned. What you align with, you attract. Not because the world is watching you, but because your internal world begins to mirror your highest truth. The more you embody success, the more you destroy the identity of lack. And once your identity changes, your entire life shifts with it. Let's be clear. You are not just chasing a goal. You are becoming the person who effortlessly lives inside that goal. You're not forcing results, you're shifting realities. And every moment you choose to act as if, you deepen that shift. Now pause for a moment and think, if your highest version of success had a voice, how would it speak? If it had a routine, what would it look like? If it had a posture, a presence, a spirit, how would it move? That's what you start practicing. That's what you begin to reflect in your day-to-day life. The more often you repeat that version of you, the less space you give to the version that doubts. Doubt cannot grow in an environment of decision, and acting as if is the most radical decision you can make. Every major transformation in life begins with a decision to believe something before you see it. It begins with vision, not a vision you casually observe, but one you emotionally adopt, one you become. People may call it delusion, but to your soul, it's devotion. It's surrendering to the calling that has already whispered your name. It's choosing to walk in full faith that your steps are not empty, that they are building a path to something sacred. There's a reason the most successful people in the world don't always look the smartest, the most talented, or even the most prepared. What they do share is an unshakable identity. They've convinced their mind, body, and spirit that they already belong in the space they're entering. They walk into rooms not with arrogance but with expectation. They don't question whether it will happen, they simply ask when. And that's the missing key for so many. You're not waiting for evidence, you're becoming the evidence. When you live from your future, you no longer beg your past for permission. You don't wait for clarity, you create it. You don't wait for momentum, you generate it. And that shift, where your identity begins to govern your behavior, creates a ripple effect so powerful it becomes impossible to ignore. Spiritual traditions have always taught this, just in different language. Ask, believing that you have received, and it shall be yours. That's not a poetic metaphor. That's a formula. You must act like it's already yours. You must believe with the intensity of someone who has already touched the promise. That's the bridge from unseen to seen. That's the road from imagination to reality. And it begins in the smallest of choices. When you wake up, do you scroll through doubt and comparison? Or do you rise like someone who knows their name is already being whispered in rooms they haven't entered yet? When you speak, are you releasing words of limitation or language soaked in power? When you walk, do you slump under the weight of history or stand tall with the gravity of destiny? Your success isn't something you chase, it's something you meet, but you only meet it by walking toward it, not as a stranger, but as a friend who's always known the reunion was inevitable. You must get familiar with the feeling of success now, not tomorrow, not when the money shows up, not when the people applaud. Now, familiarize your nervous system with abundance. Make confidence your emotional baseline. Rehearse happiness. Practice joy. Saturate your inner world with the reality you've been told to wait for, because when it becomes real inside, it begins to manifest outside. The subconscious doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined reality and a physically experienced one. That's why visualization isn't fantasy, it's strategy. That's why acting as if is not wishful thinking, it's spiritual warfare. It is how you claim victory in a world that hasn't yet caught up to your belief. You're not lying to yourself by embodying your future. You're training yourself. You're building the muscles required to carry the weight of the blessing. You're developing the emotional endurance needed to sustain the success when it arrives. Because what good is a breakthrough if you're not built to hold it? And this is where most people collapse. They hope for success, but keep preparing for disappointment. They dream big, but act small. They pray for abundance, but still identify with scarcity. So life mirrors their energy, not their wish. Because life doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you are. So become it, not tomorrow, today. Let your conversation sound like someone who's already made it. Let your habits reflect someone who's already trusted. Let your presence carry the calm of someone who's no longer fighting for approval. Because when you stop chasing and start aligning, everything begins to change. The world around you may not shift right away, but you will. And that internal shift becomes impossible to ignore. Doors that were once locked will open because you now carry the energy of someone who walks through them without hesitation. People who once overlooked you will pause because you've become undeniable. Not because you're trying harder, but because you're no longer acting like a version of you that was waiting to be chosen. You've already been chosen. Your job now is to live like it. Act as if your biggest success is not just coming, it's here, in your breath, in your voice, in your next step. You were never a mistake. You were never random. You were never overlooked by the divine. The very breath in your lungs right now is proof that purpose is still running through your veins. You're not here by accident. You were chosen. But here's the catch. Being chosen means nothing unless you choose yourself. The door may be open, but you still have to walk through it. The table may be set, but you must take your seat. You were created for a destiny far greater than survival. But to reach it, you must stop living like someone who's still waiting for permission to rise. Acting as if your biggest success is coming starts with remembering who you are, not who life told you to be, not who your mistakes tried to reduce you to, but the real you, the you that was knit together with intention, the you that's been quietly preparing in silence while the world scrolled past, the you that's not afraid of being great, only afraid of wasting greatness on fear. You see, there's something dangerous about people who know they've been chosen. They don't flinch when rejected. They don't break when ignored. They don't chase every opportunity because they know the right one is already theirs. They speak with authority not because they have all the answers, but because they trust their assignment. They've been whispered to by God, and they act like it. And you've heard the whisper too. You've felt that tug in your soul. You've sensed that you're meant for something more, not for the spotlight, not for applause, but for impact. You know it. You've always known it. But life tried to make you forget. Pain tried to make you doubt. And people who didn't understand your calling tried to convince you to shrink. No more. You are already chosen. Not when you get the job, not when you hit the number, not when you finally get applause. You were chosen before you had a title, before you had a plan, before anyone saw your worth, and now it's time to walk like it. What does that look like? It looks like moving with intention even when you feel invisible. It looks like making decisions as if the outcome is already secured. It looks like protecting your energy, your vision, your environment, because you no longer see yourself as someone hoping to be picked. You've already been picked. You're not competing. You're completing your assignment. But you can't carry that truth lightly. You must wear it. You must speak from it. You must move through the world as someone who knows they're carrying destiny. Because when you carry yourself like the answer, you stop looking for external validation. And that confidence, that authority, it begins to shift everything. People will ask, who do you think you are? And your answer, I'm the one who was sent. I'm the one who kept going. I'm the one who didn't fold. I'm the one who acts like the promise is mine because it is. You don't have to prove anything when you know you were chosen. Your presence becomes your proof. You no longer hustle for worthiness. You walk in worth. You don't beg to be seen. You live in such alignment that you become impossible to ignore. And that's what acting as if really is. It's not an act at all. It's a return to the version of you who already knows, who already trusts, who already walks like their feet were made for holy ground. Because you don't get to your destiny by effort alone. You get there by identity. You must become the one your future was built for. You must stop borrowing confidence and start living from conviction. Not a shallow confidence rooted in ego, but a deep one rooted in purpose. You don't become the chosen one by chance. You become it by choice. Life may have handed you pain, but you didn't surrender to it. People may have overlooked you, but you didn't shrink. Circumstances may have been stacked against you, but you kept moving forward. And every time you did, every silent tear, every uncelebrated victory, every invisible act of courage, you were proving yourself not to the world, but to the deeper version of you that's always been waiting to rise. That's what it means to walk like you're chosen. You stop seeking signs and start becoming one. You stop watching others walk into their calling and start preparing for your own. You stop needing confirmation because the calling is already confirmation enough. You are no longer the one hoping to be qualified. You are the one who realizes the process was the qualification. And now you have to embody that truth. This means dressing like you're already in the room where your destiny lives, speaking like someone whose words create worlds, thinking like a person who has nothing to prove but everything to protect. Your peace, your focus, your alignment. You don't explain yourself to those who refuse to understand. You don't justify your light to those who live in shadows. You don't water down your vision to fit into smaller vessels. Why? Because you're not acting anymore. You're becoming. The moment you act as if you're chosen, life begins to respond differently. Doors start opening. Not because they weren't there before, but because now you can finally see them. Opportunities begin appearing, not because they suddenly exist, but because you finally believe you deserve them. And people begin treating you with the respect you stopped begging for the moment you gave it to yourself. You are no longer looking for your seat at the table. You are building the table. And not everyone will understand the shift. Some will mock it, some will doubt it. Some will try to drag you back to the version of you they were comfortable with. But do not explain your evolution to those committed to misunderstanding your growth. Instead, stay rooted, stay still, let your fruit speak, let your peace preach, let your actions echo louder than your explanations ever could. Every single morning, you have a decision to make. Will you live as the version of yourself shaped by your past, or the version called by your future? Will you wear the weight of what you've been through, or the glory of what you're stepping into? Will you keep shrinking to fit into familiar spaces, or expand into the fullness of your calling? You've been chosen not because you're perfect, but because you're willing to keep showing up, willing to heal, willing to walk even when your legs shake, willing to believe even when your heart is tired. That willingness is sacred. That's what separates you. That's what marks you. And now that you know you've been chosen, walk like it. Walk like someone who knows divine timing is at work, even when everything seems delayed. Speak like someone who knows their voice carries weight. Think like someone who has already stepped into the room of miracles. Not because the world said yes, but because you finally stopped saying no to yourself. Let your posture shift. Let your eyes look ahead. Let your spirit lift. You're not hoping anymore. You're moving. You're not wishing. You're preparing. You're not trying. You're claiming. This isn't arrogance. It's reverence. Reverence for the calling. Reverence for the process. Reverence for the one who placed the vision inside you. And when you walk with that reverence, everything changes. Because when you finally walk like you're already chosen, heaven walks with you. It's easy to act strong when the world is clapping. Easy to smile when your bank account is full. Easy to walk tall when everyone sees your worth. But what happens when life is silent? When the rooms are cold, the days are long, and the people you trusted most have vanished? What happens when your environment contradicts the success you've been promised? That's when your power is revealed. Not in how you react to celebration, but in how you hold your ground in the absence of support. Because if your energy is based on your environment, you'll rise and fall with every mood, delay, and opinion. But if your energy is rooted in vision, nothing can shake it. You cannot afford to let your environment dictate your belief anymore. Your surroundings are temporary, but your spirit is eternal. The place you're in right now is not your home. It's your hallway. It's the space between the calling and the crown. And if you stop moving in this hallway, if you collapse under the weight of what you see, you'll never reach the door that's already prepared for you. That's why you must train your energy to override your environment. You must speak life when you feel lifeless. You must act with excellence even when no one is watching. You must carry peace into places designed to provoke your chaos. Because your breakthrough isn't born in comfort. It's born in the tension, in the resistance, in the contradiction between what your eyes see and what your soul knows to be true. And yes, that tension is painful. There will be moments when your reality screams, nothing is happening. Your surroundings will whisper, give up. People will mock, why do you keep going? But you won't be shaken, because you're not acting based on where you are. You're acting based on where you're going. You understand the principle now. When you act as if your biggest success is coming, you no longer respond to the present. You respond to the promise. Your decisions aren't made from fear. They're made from faith, and faith doesn't need evidence. It becomes the evidence. This is how warriors are formed. Not in applause, but in obscurity. Not in luxury, but in lack. Not when everything feels aligned, but when nothing makes sense, and you keep showing up anyway. When you still rise at dawn, when you still speak blessings over your life, when you still build like the outcome is guaranteed, even when the lights are off and the path is unclear. You see, your environment is testing you. It's not punishing you, it's preparing you. The darkness around you is the backdrop that allows your light to be revealed. The noise of doubt, the weight of delay, the silence of support, these are not curses. They are invitations. Invitations to anchor your energy in something deeper than conditions. Because if your energy is circumstantial, then your identity is vulnerable. But when your energy flows from your internal knowing, your identity becomes bulletproof. You move from survival to sovereignty, from reaction to leadership, from chasing your breakthrough to embodying it. That's why you must build an atmosphere inside you that cannot be corrupted by what's outside you. No one around you has to believe for you to believe. No one has to clap for you to feel victorious. No one has to validate your dream for you to validate your path. Let them doubt, let them sleep, let them leave. Your success is not tied to their recognition. It's tied to your resilience. Let the world call it delusion. You'll call it alignment. Because when you stop allowing your environment to lead your emotions, you begin to lead your environment. And the universe, God, destiny, they all respond to leadership. Not loud leadership, not flashy leadership, but quiet, committed, invisible leadership. The kind that builds when no one's watching. The kind that prepares for rain before there's a cloud in sight. You can't afford to give your power away to things that shift with the wind. People change. Circumstances change. Opportunities appear and disappear. But the one thing that must remain steady is the fire inside of you. The belief that refuses to die, even when everything around you goes quiet. Because here's the truth most people never accept. Environments don't create greatness. They reveal it. They test it. They stretch it. And if you need a perfect setting to act successful, you'll never last when the pressure comes. The spotlight doesn't make you shine. It only exposes whether you've been glowing in the dark. So ask yourself this. Are you glowing in the dark? Are you showing up with excellence when no one's watching? Are you giving full effort in places that feel beneath your calling? Are you walking like royalty in rooms that treat you like a servant? Because that's where the future is shaped. Not when you arrive, but when you still believe, even in obscurity. The most powerful thing you can do is stay grounded in a higher truth while surrounded by present tension. That's what makes you magnetic. That's what transforms you from a dreamer into a creator. And it's not easy, but if you're looking for easy, you're not really looking for destiny. You must be the thermostat in your life, not the thermometer. A thermometer reads the environment. A thermostat sets it. Most people walk into a room and adjust to the energy. They dim their light, they shrink. They mimic the fear in the room. But you're different. You walk in and change the temperature. You bring clarity into chaos. You carry strength into uncertain spaces. You regulate the emotional climate with your inner certainty. That's the energy of someone who knows success isn't coming, it's already near. That's the energy of someone who's not moved by distractions, not swayed by delay, not shaken by doubt. You are no longer at the mercy of your environment because you've become the author of your atmosphere. Yes, people may question your confidence. They might say you're too intense, too ambitious, too focused, but they weren't with you in the seasons that tried to break you. They didn't see the nights you cried but still got up the next day. They didn't witness the moments you had every excuse to quit, but instead chose to build in silence. And that's what separates you. That's what qualifies you. Not your environment, but your endurance. Acting as if your biggest success is coming doesn't mean you ignore your surroundings. It means you refuse to let them define you. You see the truth beyond the noise. You recognize that your current location is not your final destination. You may be in the wilderness now, but your promise is waiting. Keep walking like it's already yours. Keep planning like the resources are already on the way. Keep speaking like the walls are already shaking. Let your daily posture preach what your environment can't yet confirm. Because when your spirit becomes unshakable, life begins to move. Doors open that logic can't explain. People appear who speak your language. Resources flow to match your mindset. Not because the environment changed, but because you did. So don't wait for your surroundings to become perfect before you act. Don't wait for validation before you start believing. Don't wait for applause before you prepare your victory dance. Act now, move now, speak now. Your energy must rise above the noise. And one day, not far from now, you'll look around and realize the environment you used to pray for is the environment you built. Sometimes the loudest proof that your success is coming is complete silence. No signs, no movement, no applause, just stillness, just space. And in that space, something holy is being formed, because what you don't see is often more powerful than what you do. The unseen is where true faith is tested, and the silence, though terrifying, is sacred. You see, we are wired to respond to results, to progress, to recognition. We want feedback that tells us you're close. But destiny doesn't always speak in obvious signs. It often whispers through stillness, through delay, through the absence of evidence. And if you're not rooted in faith, you'll mistake that silence as punishment. But it's not punishment, it's preparation. The silence is not a no, it's a command to grow. It's in the silence where your internal foundation is strengthened. It's where you stop relying on the external and finally start listening to the only voice that matters, the one inside you that never stopped believing. That voice doesn't need confirmation. It doesn't ask for permission. It knows, it trusts. It keeps walking, not because of what it sees, but because of what it knows is coming. Acting as if your biggest success is coming means you trust the unseen more than you trust your senses. It means you are willing to stand tall in empty rooms, to prepare speeches no one asked for yet, to build systems that haven't been funded, to rehearse greatness when all you hear is doubt. This is not delusion, it is discipline. It is the deep spiritual maturity of a soul that knows God often hides the next season to protect it while it forms. And if He showed you everything too soon, you might run, you might boast, or you might sabotage the very thing you're praying for. So instead, He teaches you through silence. He allows seasons where your prayers echo back without reply, where your work feels invisible, where the seeds you planted months ago haven't broken through the soil. But that soil isn't dead, it's alive. It's working beneath the surface. The delay is divine. The quiet is sacred. And you, yes, you must keep showing up like the harvest is inevitable. Because it is. That's the power of faith in silence. It's not passive. It's the most aggressive form of belief. Anyone can believe when the signs are loud. But it takes spiritual maturity to believe when the heavens are quiet. When the people around you are distracted. When your progress is invisible. That's where your roots go deeper. You were never called to live by sight. You were called to live by vision. And vision lives in the dark long before it shines in the light. It grows in the hidden places. It matures in the waiting. And it reveals itself to the one who kept walking, kept preparing, kept declaring, even when silence tried to convince them to stop. So don't let the quiet trick you. Don't let it convince you that nothing is happening. Don't let it mute your energy or dull your power. Keep showing up. Keep acting like the call is still active, because it is. The silence is not a cancellation, it's a classroom. And your endurance in that classroom will determine what kind of success you can actually carry. There is something holy about a person who keeps moving in the dark, someone who walks by faith, not performance, who builds like the blueprint came straight from heaven, who stands on nothing but a word and still refuses to fall. You're not failing, you're being fortified. You're not behind, you're being hidden, and there's a big difference. When God hides you, it's never to harm you. It's to shield you while you grow. The greatest trees are buried longest before they rise. The deepest foundations are laid in silence before the world sees the height. And you, too, are being shaped in that silence, not for survival, but for significance. So don't let the lack of noise convince you to abandon the mission. What you're building doesn't need immediate applause. It needs obedience. It needs consistency. It needs the kind of trust that can only be forged in private battles. Because the truth is, the stage you're preparing for can only hold the version of you that passed through silence with integrity. And here's where most people falter. They interpret silence as rejection. They begin questioning their path, doubting their worth, comparing their timing. They start chasing noise because it feels like progress. But noise doesn't equal momentum. Sometimes the loudest ones are the farthest from themselves. You, however, are different. You understand that the most powerful transitions happen in quiet. You're not afraid of it anymore. You welcome it. You understand that the quiet room is where clarity is born, where ego dies, where identity is revealed, where the fluff is stripped away and only the truth remains. And when all the noise fades, do you know what's left? Your voice, your call, your knowing. This is where acting as if becomes sacred. Because in the silence, when no one is watching, no one is validating, no one is celebrating, you choose to still show up. You still dress for the opportunity. You still create. You still speak words of life. You still declare things over your journey. And every time you do that, the heavens take note. Every quiet yes in the dark creates a loud yes in the spirit. Every step you take in faith adds pressure to the breakthrough that's forming. Every tear you shed in silence waters the ground that's about to bloom. Nothing is being wasted, not your effort, not your pain, not your preparation. The silence is not a void, it's a vault, and what's in that vault is priceless. Your character, your discipline, your unwavering belief, these are the treasures that can't be bought, only earned through endurance. And when the day comes that the door swings open, when the spotlight finally finds you, you won't be surprised, you won't be overwhelmed, you'll be ready. Why? Because you were already living it, already embodying it, already aligned with it. The success didn't change you, it simply introduced you to the world, but you were walking in it long before they saw it. And maybe that's the secret all along, that your energy becomes unstoppable when it no longer requires confirmation. When you walk with the quiet confidence of someone who knows they've already won, even if the scoreboard says otherwise. When your joy doesn't depend on a result, but on your decision to keep becoming the version of you that success already belongs to. You don't need signs anymore. You are the sign. You don't need a voice from the sky. You have the voice within. And that voice is telling you now, keep going, keep preparing, keep building. Not because it makes sense, but because it's aligned, because you've already seen the outcome in your spirit, because you're no longer seeking external validation, you're standing on internal revelation. So let the silence come, let the seasons be still, let the world grow quiet. You don't need noise to believe, you don't need results to move, you don't need attention to prepare. You need faith, you need vision, and most of all, you need to act like it's already yours. Because in the silence, the truest power is born. And when the world finally hears the sound, it will be the echo of everything you already knew. Success is not a lightning strike. It's a rhythm, a quiet, invisible frequency that lives in your daily choices. And when you act as if your biggest success is coming, that belief must bleed into your habits. Because your habits are not just tasks, they're votes. and every day you are casting votes for the future you want or the one you fear. So what are your habits saying about your belief? When you wake up in the morning, do you move like someone preparing for impact or someone hoping the day will pass without pain? Do you start your day by scrolling through other people's lives or stepping into your own mission with clarity and control? Do you walk into your space like someone with a plan or someone trying to survive? These questions matter because your habits reveal your identity long before your words do. You cannot expect life to give you more if you're not managing what you already have, like someone who's trusted with much. If you truly believe your biggest success is coming, your routine must reflect it. You start managing your time differently. You stop spending hours numbing yourself with distraction. You create space for silence, for focus, for growth. You build discipline, not because it's easy, but because your future demands it. This is where acting as if becomes tangible. It's no longer an abstract belief. It becomes visible in the way you treat your body, your finances, your energy, your relationships. Do you eat like someone preparing for the pressure of the next level? Do you speak to yourself like someone worthy of victory? Do you spend money like someone walking in abundance or surviving lack? You cannot hold a vision in one hand and a victim mentality in the other. You cannot step into destiny while still arguing for your limitations. You cannot wear a crown while rehearsing old shame. This is the shedding season, and it's not always pretty. You'll feel resistance. Your old patterns will scream louder than ever. They'll beg you to return to what's familiar. But familiar does not mean aligned. Comfortable does not mean correct. Your old self is loud, but your future is louder if you're willing to listen. You may lose relationships. You may outgrow conversations. You may find yourself walking alone for a while. But every version of you that dies makes space for the version that thrives. This is what real growth demands. Not just belief, but release. Release the need to be understood. Release the guilt for changing. Release the timelines you clung to out of fear. Release the version of you that kept shrinking just to be accepted. Because if you don't release it, you'll recreate it. You'll find yourself manifesting the same results in different packaging. Different job, same chaos. Different partner, same patterns. Different opportunity, same self-doubt. That's not fate. That's identity repetition. That's your old self driving a new car but heading to the same destination. And you are too powerful for that now. So make the decision. Who are you willing to stop being? What beliefs will you no longer entertain? What stories will you stop telling? What excuses will you bury today? Because until you stop being the version of you that fits your past, you'll never become the one that fits your future. Letting go is an act of war, not against others, but against the comfort that kept you bound. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do, because the old you comes with memories, with patterns, with people, with identity, and letting that go feels like dying. But it's not death, it's rebirth, a sacred shedding, a transition from the you that needed validation to the you that creates it. And to walk into your next level, you must be willing to look at your life and say, this no longer fits me. This belief no longer serves me. This story no longer belongs to the person I'm becoming. Because your next level is not built on addition, it's built on subtraction. You're not here to be everything to everyone. You're not here to keep playing small just to protect someone else's insecurity. You're not here to keep justifying your evolution to people who love the old version of you more than they love the truth of who you're meant to be. There will be grief. There will be silence. There will be space between the goodbye and the new beginning. That space is sacred. Don't rush it. Don't run from it. Sit with it. Let it burn away what you no longer need. Let it make you raw, real, and ready. Because when you fully let go, you stop negotiating with your old self. You stop arguing for the past. You stop seeking sympathy and start standing in sovereignty. You stop clinging to the identity of the struggler and start embodying the presence of the creator. You're not here to repeat cycles. You're here to break them. And that means leaving behind the thoughts that told you you're not enough, the habits that numbed your calling, the relationships that distracted you from alignment, the energy that diluted your potential. Letting go isn't weakness, it's spiritual strength. It's saying, I love myself enough to stop choosing what harms me, even if it once felt safe. It's walking away from the patterns that made you feel busy, but never made you feel fulfilled. It's releasing the story that your success is somewhere out there instead of rising in here. So what does this look like in your daily life? It looks like setting boundaries with the version of you that always says yes to everything and everyone. It looks like rewriting the script in your mind that says you have to earn love, approval, success. It looks like closing chapters, deleting numbers, and clearing spaces not out of anger, but out of alignment. You begin to declutter your mind the same way you declutter your home. You hold every thought, every habit, every belief in your hands and ask, does this serve the person I'm becoming? If not, you release it with grace. Not because you're bitter, but because you're better now. You cannot fly while holding on to the weight of who you used to be. You cannot soar into your future while dragging the shame of your history. It's time. Time to put down the mask. Time to stop rehearsing the hurt. Time to stop living in the image of someone who was only trying to survive. Because you are not here to survive. You are here to evolve. And your biggest success is not just about achieving something, it's about becoming someone. Someone who doesn't fear the unknown. Someone who doesn't cling to outdated versions of themselves. Someone who trusts that what's ahead is worth more than what they're leaving behind. Let go, not to lose yourself, but to finally meet yourself. The one who isn't controlled by old wounds. The one who doesn't carry regret like armor. The one who wakes up with clarity, courage, and conviction. That version of you isn't far away. It's already within you, waiting to be claimed. And the moment you release who you were, you'll rise as who you truly are. Pause. Just for a moment. Inhale the silence between these words. Let yourself feel something different, something undeniable, rising from within. Because what you are reading right now is not random. This message didn't appear out of nowhere. It is not coincidence, not accident, not a passing moment in time. It is an appointment, a divine echo, a personal note from the unseen wrapped in these exact letters arranged for your eyes only. The universe does not speak in noise, it speaks in alignment. And you right now are aligned. There's something you've been asking for, a desire you've kept hidden in the sacred chambers of your heart. Maybe you whispered it in prayer, maybe you cried it out when no one was listening, or maybe, just maybe, you dared to imagine it when the world told you to be realistic. But what you long for is not foolish, it's not out of reach. In fact, it's already here. The only thing missing is your belief that it is. You see, everything begins with assumption. When you assume something is true, you collapse the distance between you and the thing you seek. You don't chase it anymore. You become it. You live in the end. You act as if the scene has already played out. And that's where the shift happens. Not outside you, but inside. Act as if you've already received the news you've been waiting for. Not because you're pretending, not because you're deluded, but because the moment you change your inner state, the outer world must follow. Your emotions are not background noise, they are creative forces. Your thoughts are not weak whispers, they are commands, written into the fabric of reality. This message is your permission. More than that, it is your confirmation. What you desire is already moving toward you. Not in the future, not in another lifetime, now. But it only becomes visible when you accept it as already yours. So walk like the one who already knows. Breathe like someone who has just been told yes. Think like the dreamer who finally sees the dream unfolding in every detail. When you shift your inner dialogue, when you change the script, the universe has no choice but to mirror your lines. It is not your job to figure out how. It is not your job to beg or plead. Your only task is to embody the reality you want, with absolute confidence that the unseen is far more real than what your eyes can confirm. What you're reading now, it is the sign, that inner nod you asked for, that reassurance you've been craving, that small spark that lights up everything else. You don't need to wait for more evidence. The evidence is you. The moment you feel it as done, the universe bends to your decision. Because reality is not something you wait for, it is something you choose. The only thing between you and the life you want is your willingness to act as if it's already yours. So take this message as sacred, as designed, as orchestrated just for you. This is not just encouragement, this is confirmation. The universe is not far. It's not silent. It has been whispering in every moment, waiting for you to tune in. And now, you are tuned in. You are aligned. You are ready. Let the world catch up to the truth you now carry. It is done. There is a truth that quietly governs the structure of your world, a truth so powerful that once you grasp it, you can never go back to the old way of living. That truth is this: your inner assumption creates your outer reality. This is not poetic metaphor, not vague spiritual philosophy. It is a principle, a law, as reliable and precise as gravity. Everything you experience in your external life is shaped by what you accept as true on the inside. And most people miss this not because it is hidden, but because it is simple. You've been taught to believe that life happens to you, that things come from the outside in, that if you want more love, more money, more recognition, more peace, you must go out and hunt it down, struggle for it, chase it, work endlessly until the world gives it to you. But here's what few people tell you. The world cannot give you anything that your inner state has not already accepted. The outer world is not the source. It is the reflection. Like a mirror, it does not choose what it shows you. It only reflects back what you already are. So if you hold within yourself the assumption that you are unwanted, unworthy, not enough, life will continue to present you with circumstances that echo that belief. You will meet people who mistreat you, opportunities will seem to vanish, and doors will close. Not because the world is against you, but because the mirror must reflect what's in front of it. And what's in front of it is you. Now this may feel confronting, it might even feel unfair, but it's actually the most liberating thing in the world, because it means you are not at the mercy of chance. You are not a victim of fate. You are not waiting for someone else to choose you, save you, or validate your worth. You are the one with the power. Right now, in this very moment. And your power begins with assumption. Assumption is not passive, it is not wishful thinking. It is the decision to feel, believe, and live from the place where your desire is already true. It is the quiet, confident choice to close your eyes and know within your being that you are already what you long to become. That what you want is already yours, not someday, but now. Because in the world of imagination, time does not exist. The moment you feel it as real, it becomes real. Think about how often you've assumed the worst, and how quickly the world validated that for you. How many times did you expect rejection and then received it? How many times did you believe something would go wrong and it did? That was not coincidence. That was creation. And the same mechanism that brings your fears to life can bring your dreams to life. The same mental projector that plays the film of disappointment can be used to play a new scene, a scene of fulfillment, abundance, joy. But here's the key. You cannot wait to see it before you believe it. You must believe it until you see it. You must become it in your inner world, and then the outer world will be forced to reflect your new truth. When you assume something deeply enough, consistently enough, it settles into your subconscious. And your subconscious is the builder of your world. It orchestrates events, moves people, reshapes circumstances, all to remain consistent with your dominant state of being. So begin today, right now, to assume the state you desire. Close your eyes and see yourself as the one who already has the life you long for. Walk around your home as if it's the one you imagined. Speak as if your prayers have already been answered. Smile like someone who's just received everything they asked for. Because when you change your state, you change the signal you send to life, and life must answer. This is not about pretending or faking it. It is about embodying it. Living from the truth that your inner world is the birthplace of all things. You can't fool the universe, but you can align with it. And alignment doesn't require proof or evidence. It requires trust. A deep, unwavering trust that says, what I feel inside is more real than what I see outside. Because the outside always catches up with the inside. Always. When you adopt this understanding, you'll find that your need to struggle fades. Your desire to control every outcome softens. And in its place, you'll find peace. Not a passive peace, but a creative one. A peace that knows its power. A peace that rests in certainty. Because when you assume the best, and you do so with emotion and repetition, life begins to move. Not in chaotic rush, but in divine precision. You'll notice small things at first. A shift in conversation. A door opening that seemed closed. A feeling of lightness replacing the old heaviness. That is the universe responding. That is life mirroring your new inner state. And if you stay there, if you dwell in the assumption long enough, it becomes your dwelling place. And from that place, your world is transformed. So if you've been waiting for permission, if you've been waiting for a sign, let this be it. Let this be the moment you decide to no longer ask if your manifestation is coming, but to declare that it is already here. Not someday, not later, now. Assume it, accept it, embody it. And then watch as the mirror changes. Watch as the world bends around your belief, because it must. That is the law. That is the gift. That is your power. You are not required to understand the entire path. That's the mistake most people make. They think they need to see every step, every connection, every detail of how their desire will manifest before they allow themselves to believe. But the truth is, the moment you try to control the process, you slip out of the state of fulfillment and back into the state of longing. You move from creation to delay, because manifestation is not born from the mind's logic. It's born from the spirit's knowing. You don't manifest by figuring it all out. You manifest by feeling as if it's already done. This is where most people get stuck. They keep asking, but how will it happen? Who will bring it? What if it doesn't show up? And in asking these questions, they reveal something very important. They are still living from the old state, the state of not having, the state of needing proof. But the one who already has does not ask for signs. The one who already has does not wait to see before believing. The one who already has simply lives in the end and lets the rest unfold. Living in the end is not pretending. It is not delusion. It is the purest act of spiritual authority. It is standing in the middle of your current reality and choosing to respond from the place where your desire is already fulfilled. You walk like the one who has already received. You speak like someone whose prayers are already answered. You smile like someone who has touched their dream with their own hands, not because you're fooling anyone, but because you understand something deeper. The end creates the means. When you begin to think, feel, and act from the end, the path begins to reveal itself. The steps you couldn't see before now come into focus. The people you need to meet cross your path. The opportunities that once seemed impossible now become obvious. But none of that happens until you shift into the state of the fulfilled. Until you stop asking and start assuming. Until you stop wanting. There's a sacred power in embodiment. To embody your desire is to become it in your imagination, to dwell in it mentally, to feel it emotionally, and to behave outwardly in ways that align with the version of yourself who already has it. That's not arrogance, That's alignment. And when you align with your desire, you give life permission to rearrange itself around you. Most people think they need more effort, but what they really need is more embodiment, more emotional conviction, more quiet certainty. Because when you truly feel the state of your wish fulfilled, you don't beg life, you command it, not with force but with resonance. You don't chase what you are aligned with. You don't plead for what you already are. And in that shift, the anxiety falls away. The tension dissolves. The need to obsess disappears. Because once you embody the end, the rest becomes inevitable. You don't have to walk around explaining yourself. You don't have to convince others of your vision. You simply need to convince yourself. And once your subconscious accepts the reality of your desire as fact, the outer world has no choice but to comply. That is the truth behind every miracle, every breakthrough, every success story. It began with someone choosing to feel the end before it ever arrived. Imagine for a moment that what you want has already happened. Close your eyes and picture the version of you who is already living the life you've dreamed of. What do you look like? How do you walk into a room? What do your mornings feel like? What kind of thoughts are normal to you? What kind of peace rests in your heart? You see, this version of you already exists in imagination, and the more real you make it there, the sooner it becomes your experience here. Don't worry about the obstacles. Don't obsess over the how. The version of you who lives in the end has already passed through those things. They're already resolved. And when you walk in the footsteps of that version, you bring the solutions closer. You begin to speak words you've never spoken before. You take actions you wouldn't have taken from your old state. Not because you're trying harder, but because you are no longer the same. You've moved into alignment with a different identity, and that identity brings with it a new reality. Living in the end is not always easy. The world around you might still reflect your past beliefs. People may still speak to you as if nothing has changed. Circumstances might still echo your old state. But that's okay. That's not the problem. That's just the echo. And echoes fade. What matters is that you don't react to them. What matters is that you remain in the state of the end, even when the world tries to pull you back into the state of waiting. Because the longer you remain faithful to the end, the faster the world catches up. Every time you dwell in doubt, you delay. Every time you worry, you separate yourself from the fulfillment. But every time you return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you bring it closer. You bridge the gap. You quicken the process. You become a magnet for the reality you once thought was far away. And soon it no longer feels like something you're reaching for. It feels like something that's already here, because it is. Your job is not to make it happen. Your job is to become the one it happens to. And you do that by thinking from the end, by acting as if it's done, by feeling the joy, the peace, the gratitude of the version of you who already received it all. You don't wait for permission. You don't wait for evidence. You become the evidence. You become the living proof that assumption is power. So the next time you catch yourself wondering if it's working, ask yourself this instead. Am I still living in the end? Or did I slip back into the old story? If you find that you've drifted, don't panic. Just return. Return to the end. Return to the feeling. Return to the state where your desire is already fulfilled. And stay there. Because that's where your power lives. That's where creation begins. And that's where everything you want already exists, waiting for you to act like it's already yours. Emotion is not a side effect of belief. It is the signal, the evidence, the very heartbeat of manifestation. Your emotions are not just responses to your environment. They are the creative forces shaping that environment. The universe doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you feel is already true. And that feeling, when it is real, when it is alive inside of you, becomes a magnet. It pulls the unseen into form. It gathers the intangible and makes it tangible. That is why emotional confirmation is more powerful than any sign you could ever ask for. Because when you feel the fulfillment of your desire, even before it shows up, you are no longer looking for signs. You have become the sign. Think about how you act when something wonderful has happened. You don't need to be told it's real. You feel it. Your posture changes. Your energy shifts. You move differently, speak differently, think differently. That's what happens when something has truly manifested in your life. But the great paradox of creation is that you don't wait for the shift to occur after the manifestation. You create the shift before it arrives, and that shift begins with emotion. The moment you allow yourself to feel the joy of your desire being fulfilled, something begins to happen within you. A sense of certainty takes root. Not because someone proved it to you, but because you touched it in your imagination so deeply that your body believed it. Your nervous system began to adjust to the new reality. And that emotional shift is what tells the universe, this is who I am now. This is the frequency I've chosen to live on, match me. This is where many people struggle. They feel a desire rise within them, but instead of embodying the emotion of the end result, they sit in longing, in lack, in waiting. They think, when it shows up, then I'll feel grateful. When the relationship arrives, then I'll feel loved. When the money comes, then I'll feel free. But it doesn't work like that. If you wait to feel the emotion until after the thing arrives, you'll be waiting forever, because the feeling is not the result of the manifestation, it's the cause. You don't need to know how things will unfold. You only need to feel them as already done. Your emotional state is the conversation you are always having with the universe. If your emotions are anchored in lack, frustration, and impatience, that is the frequency you are radiating. That is the confirmation you are sending out. I do not have what I want. And life, being the perfect mirror that it is, reflects that belief right back to you. But when your emotions shift to peace, to gratitude, to joy, not the joy of hoping it will come, but the joy of knowing it has, then reality begins to reshape itself around your new vibration. You might not notice it right away. That's okay. Emotional confirmation is not a performance. You don't feel something once and expect the world to change overnight. You live in that feeling, you return to it, you let it soak into every part of your being, you rehearse it in your imagination until it becomes your new normal, and when it does, the world has no choice but to match your state. This is why visualization is powerful, but only when it's emotional. If you visualize your desire like a movie on a screen that you're not connected to, it remains distant. But if you close your eyes and feel the texture of the moment, the sound of your own laughter in the scene, the warmth of the embrace, the thrill of seeing it done, then you've activated the emotional blueprint. You've stepped into the version of yourself who lives in that reality. And that version is the one the universe listens to. When your emotional state aligns with the reality you desire, you start to notice a quiet inner shift. You stop checking, you stop doubting, you stop asking for signs. Not because you don't care, but because you know. And that knowing is not forced. It's not manufactured, it's felt. That is the emotional confirmation. The sense that what you desire is already yours, even if it hasn't yet arrived in the visible world. And then something beautiful happens. The outside world starts to change. People show up, conversations shift, doors open, and you realize you're no longer chasing your desire, it's coming to meet you. Not because you pushed harder, but because you finally aligned with it emotionally. You became a match. And all of this began not with a ritual or a routine, but with a feeling. So when you catch yourself looking for a sign, pause. Ask yourself this instead. What am I feeling right now? What emotion is radiating from me? Am I living in the emotional state of the one who already has, or am I stuck in the vibration of waiting? Because your feelings are the signal, the compass, the evidence of your belief. And the good news is you can choose them right now, in this moment. You can close your eyes, breathe deeply, and step into the emotion of having it. Not because you see it, but because you decide to feel it. And in doing so, you begin the process of bringing it into form. Because the universe does not respond to wishful thinking, it responds to embodied emotion, to the quiet confidence that says, I already am. And once you become that emotionally, everything else follows. You are not waiting for confirmation from the world, you are the confirmation. Your emotional state is the proof. So feel it deeply, feel it vividly, feel it now, and let that feeling be your answer. Because once you feel it, you've already begun to create it. The rest is just a matter of time. There is something deeply sacred about this moment, the timing of it, the feeling of it, the fact that you are here reading these words, not out of boredom, not by mistake, but because somewhere deep inside you, you asked for something, you longed for a sign, you whispered into the silence, hoping something out there would hear you. And now here it is. This message is not just text. It is a line. It is confirmation. It is the echo of your own soul coming back to remind you that the universe has heard you, that your desire is not lost, that you are not forgotten, that this moment was arranged, not randomly but deliberately, timed with the precision of divine orchestration. People often think that divine timing means waiting, that it's about patience, about silence, about stillness. But divine timing is not about delay. It's about readiness, it's about resonance, it's about the universe delivering what you ask for the moment you become the version of yourself who is prepared to receive it. And you don't become that version through external striving. You become that version by deciding, right now, to believe that you already are. This is the moment where that decision can take root. The moment where you stop asking, is it coming? And start saying, it's already mine. Because if you look closely, if you tune in past the noise, you'll see that life has been whispering to you all along. In the moments that made your heart race, in the songs that spoke your desire, in the words that seemed too perfectly timed to be coincidence. You've been guided here, not to be teased, not to be tested, but to be told clearly and undeniably that this is the beginning of something new. Let go of the idea that you missed your chance, that the timing was wrong, that your window has closed. If it were truly too late, you would not feel the pull that brought you here. You would not be resonating with these words. The universe doesn't tease. It teaches. It prepares. It waits until you're close enough in energy, in thought, in feeling, to deliver what has always been yours. And you are close. Closer than you think. This message is the proof. The fact that you are here is evidence that the invisible wheels are turning, that unseen forces have conspired to bring you face to face with your own becoming. You ask for reassurance, and now the universe is giving it, not through signs in the sky, but through the knowing in your heart. That still, quiet awareness that says, this is it. I'm ready now. You don't need to figure it all out. You don't need to know how. You don't even need to feel ready in every moment. You just need to say yes, to believe that what brought you here was not chance but design, that the universe responds not to desperation but to decision, not to neediness but to certainty. And certainty begins not when the manifestation arrives, but the moment you say, I believe this is for me. It's easy to overlook these moments, to think it's just a message, just words. But that's the mind trying to protect itself from the vulnerability of belief. Because to truly believe deeply, emotionally, unapologetically, means to risk being wrong. It means to stand in faith without evidence. But that's where all creation begins, not in safety, in surrender, in choosing to believe so boldly that the universe has no choice but to match that energy with experience. So let this be more than a message. Let it be a shift, a pivot, a line drawn in the sand where the old version of you, the one who doubted, who waited, who hoped timidly, fades into the background and the new version steps forward. The version who knows this moment was arranged for them. The version who doesn't ask for signs anymore because they are the sign. The version who lives, moves, breathes from the end result. When the universe arranges a message like this, it's not to impress you, it's to awaken you, to remind you that what you seek is already seeking you, that what you want is already prepared, waiting only for your belief to rise up and claim it. And in this moment, belief is a choice, not a feeling, a decision. To walk in faith, to feel with conviction, to act as if. You've spent enough time waiting, enough time hoping, enough time thinking that maybe someday things will change. But someday is not real. Now is. This is the only moment that exists. And in this moment, you can align with everything you've been asking for, not through force, but through faith. Not by chasing, but by becoming. You don't need more proof. You don't need more time. You need to lean into this moment and say, yes, this is mine. If this message resonates with you, it's because it was always meant for you. There is no randomness in a universe built on vibration. Everything is aligned to your frequency. Everything responds to your dominant feeling. And right now, that feeling can be one of trust, one of deep knowing, one of peaceful certainty that says, this is not the beginning of the manifestation. It's the moment I realized it was always mine. You don't need to search anymore. You found what you were looking for. It's not outside you. It's not coming in the future. It's already within you. Waiting, ready. And this message is the final nudge to stop waiting and start walking in the direction of your desire, not because you're going to meet it, but because you're going to remember that it's already yours. The universe arranged this moment. It aligned the timing, it prepared the message, it whispered the words you needed, and all of it has led you here. Don't let this moment pass. Don't dismiss it as coincidence. Let it be the confirmation you asked for. Let it be the message you carry forward. Let it be the moment you finally said yes to the life that has been waiting for your belief to bring it home. In resonance. In resonance. In this message, the universe didn't send you this to tease your hope. Everything you've longed for, everything you've held close in the quiet corners of your soul, it's already here. In everything you asked, it is yes. The choices that he made. The universe didn't send you this to tease your hope. It sent it to confirm your truth. Everything you've longed for, everything you've seen, it's yes, the choices, it's already yours. The only question that remains is, will you finally believe it? This is not the beginning of your journey. This is the turning point. The moment where you stop waiting for the world to change and start becoming the change. The moment you stop needing proof and instead become the proof. Because your inner world is the cause and your outer world is the mirror. And now you know. Now you remember. Act as if the universe arranged this very message just for you, because it did. Act as if your desire is already on its way, because it is. Act as if your belief holds the power to shape mountains, because it does. You don't have to wait for permission anymore. The universe already said yes. Now, it's your turn. Relax. Breathe. That very breath you just took, it's not just air, it's power, it's creation. And the quieter you become, the more you will hear what's always been speaking to you. The noise of the world has kept you running, rushing, pushing. But the secret has never been in the struggle. It has always been in the stillness. The stillness is not emptiness. It's fullness waiting to be recognized. And when you understand that, you don't chase anymore. You attract. You don't beg anymore, you receive. The moment you truly relax, not just with your body, but with your mind, your heart, your inner world, you begin to remember your true position, not as a servant of life, but as a creator within it. The illusion of effort dissolves. You no longer try to bend the outer world by force. Instead, you begin to realize that the outer world bends to the inner image you hold persistently and calmly. And that's the beauty most people miss. They think desire must be matched with sweat. But desire, real desire, must be matched with knowing. A knowing that flows from deep relaxation, not tension. So you relax. And you imagine, not because it's a game, not because it's wishful thinking, but because imagination is the only reality. What you see inwardly, you will hold outwardly. The world around you is a mirror. It reflects the image you consistently project. Not in panic, not in desperation, but in quiet confidence. And that confidence grows only in stillness. In stillness, you become the sculptor of your world. You shape it not with hands, but with assumptions. You carve your future with the chisel of belief. And the more relaxed you are, the more precise and powerful your creation becomes. The one who is relaxed does not look to the world to confirm what he believes. He believes because he has seen it within, and that is enough. The one who is tense, who is desperate, who is looking around every corner for proof, has already denied his creation. Because in his anxiety, he is saying, I do not yet have it, and so he pushes it further away. But when you are calm, when you are still, when you rest in the assumption that what you desire is already yours, then the world has no choice but to fall in line with your inner truth. This is the art of manifestation. Not loud, not frantic, but quiet, intentional, precise. You don't have to manipulate anyone. You don't have to convince the world. You don't even have to tell the soul. All you need to do is feel it real. Feel it here and now. Feel it so deeply that you forget it's not yet seen. Because to you, it is. And once it becomes real within, the world will echo it back to you in ways you could never predict. Through paths you never imagined, through people you didn't expect. And what is it you desire? Love, wealth, peace, purpose? It's already waiting in the invisible. Waiting for your claim, waiting for your surrender, not to lack but to abundance. You don't have to earn it, you have to accept it. And the only way to accept it is to rest in it, sit in it. Be so familiar with the feeling of having it that the world must bow to your inner certainty. This is not arrogance, it's spiritual law. The law that governs everything visible begins in the invisible. So you do not manifest by trying harder. You manifest by relaxing deeper, by trusting more, by believing in the unseen more than you fear the seen. You create by choosing your thoughts like a master artist selects colors. You choose the beautiful ones, the bold ones, the rich ones, the loving ones, and you let them fill the canvas of your mind until the picture is complete within. And once it is complete within, it must appear without. Not because you forced it, but because you lived it. Let others rush. Let others doubt. Let others call you foolish for closing your eyes and seeing a life they cannot yet comprehend. Let them laugh. Let them misunderstand, because soon they will see what you already know. They will see the evidence of what you relaxed into, what you assumed, what you dared to feel without proof. This is your true work, not to change the world, but to change your inner atmosphere, to breathe, to rest, to know, and in knowing to receive. You were never meant to fight for your blessings, you were meant to align with them. And alignment is only possible through ease, through surrender, through the quiet confidence of one who already owns it all in the unseen. So close your eyes, feel it now, and do not open them until your soul smiles with the warmth of having already received. The beginning of true manifestation lies in a place few people ever think to visit: deep, unshakable relaxation. Not the kind of surface relaxation where the body is still but the mind is racing. No, this is a surrender at the deepest level, a release of all tension in thought, emotion, and belief. You cannot enter the creative state when your soul is tight with worry. You cannot see clearly when your mind is cloudy with doubt. Every desire you hold, every wish you carry is already planted within the unseen realm. But to bring it into form, you must become like the soil that receives the seed. Soft, still, and fertile. Struggle, although praised by the world, is the enemy of manifestation. It tells you that you must work harder, try more, do something to make it happen. But the act of trying is often a confession that you believe it hasn't happened yet. And this belief alone is the gatekeeper that keeps your blessing out. Trying too hard chokes the seed before it can grow. Worry drowns it. Doubt digs it back up to check whether it's working. But when you truly relax, when you lean back into the invisible arms of faith, something powerful begins to stir. You step into alignment, not with your fears, but with your vision. Most people are conditioned to associate results with pressure. They think they must be tense in order to be focused. But true focus is never born out of anxiety. It comes from stillness. The kind of stillness that is so deep, it becomes a sacred space where creation is allowed to unfold naturally. You don't have to keep checking the clock. You don't have to force every move. You don't have to chase what is already yours by divine right. You simply have to become still enough to let it come. The relaxed state is not laziness. It's not avoidance. It is the highest form of confidence. It says, I know what I saw. I know what I felt. And I don't need the world to show it to me before I believe. This is the vibration that draws all things unto you. When you are relaxed, you are no longer reacting to circumstances. You are creating them. When you are relaxed, you no longer ask, when will it come? Instead, you smile because you know it already has. It just hasn't shown up yet in a way the senses can perceive. But your soul already feels it. And that's enough. Tension is born from fear. Fear that you are not enough. Fear that the universe may forget you. Fear that you've missed your moment. But none of that is true. The relaxed person knows that the universe has perfect memory, that it forgets nothing you have imagined, nothing you have deeply felt. Every moment spent in the energy of your desire fulfilled is a moment recorded. And in divine timing, it must return to you in physical form. There is no force on earth that can stop what you have truly accepted within. So why relax? Because it is the doorway to your power. It is in that relaxed state that you receive visions. It is in that quietness that you hear the whisper of direction. It is in stillness that you come to know, not hope, not wish, but know that what you've asked for is already en route. That's why the ancients meditated. That's why the sages withdrew from the noise, not to escape life, but to create it on a higher level. You don't create by fighting reality. You create by redefining it from the inside. And you can't do that if you're frantic. You can't do that if you're panicking. The truth is, you're not manifesting from force, you're manifesting from awareness. A quiet awareness that says, I don't chase, I attract. I don't struggle, I allow. And this state is only accessible when you've made peace with the now. When you've decided that this present moment is not a barrier to what you desire, but the birthplace of it. Many people are living in an emotional state of emergency. Every day is a race. Every thought is a problem to be solved. Every feeling is a war between fear and hope. But this is not the atmosphere where miracles grow. Miracles grow in quiet hearts. Desires blossom in peaceful minds. The more deeply you relax, the more clearly you see, and in that clarity, what once seemed far begins to move toward you with ease. You'll notice something strange once you begin to relax. Things start shifting around you. People change, opportunities appear, solutions rise up, not because you pushed, but because you finally stopped resisting. The outer world is molded by your inner posture. If your posture is tense, your results will feel blocked. But if your posture is one of deep inner calm, the path clears itself, because life follows the frequency of your being. This is the great reversal of the world's teaching. The world says, do more, hustle more, grind more. But the Spirit says, be still and know. Know that what is yours is already moving. Know that your role is not to force the flower to bloom, but to create the conditions in which it can. And the most powerful condition is rest. Rest in the belief that you are the chosen vessel through which this desire will flow. There is no one too unworthy, too broken, or too late to manifest what they desire. But there are many who are too hurried, too anxious, too focused on proving and fixing to ever receive. You do not need to prove anything to anyone. You do not need to hustle to be seen. You only need to relax into the knowing that all that is meant for you cannot miss you. What is meant for you will find you, not in your stress, but in your surrender. This is not passivity. This is not giving up. It is spiritual alignment. And once you are in that alignment, you'll find that things come faster, that answers arrive more clearly, that blessings find their way to you as if drawn by a magnet. That magnet is your state of being. And relaxation is what charges it. When you let go of needing something to happen, you make room for it to happen. When you release the tension that says, I need this to feel whole, you declare that you are already whole. And that wholeness becomes the fertile ground from which everything else emerges. You don't beg the universe, you join with it. You become one with the vibration of your desire. And in that unity, your manifestation is not a question, it becomes inevitable. Imagination is not a pastime. It is not a playful distraction or a creative exercise meant for children and dreamers. It is the very engine of creation, the unseen architect behind all that you call real. What you see in your external world is nothing but a delayed reflection of the inner world you have nourished with thought, emotion, and belief. If you can grasp this truth, not just mentally but deeply, spiritually, then you will begin to understand why imagination is everything. What you imagine with faith, what you see clearly and consistently within, becomes inevitable without. And the key is to feel it so fully within that the outer world has no choice but to match it. The person who lives in their imagination is not detached from reality. They are engaged with a higher reality. They are not avoiding life, they are rewriting it from the source. Everything you have, everything you lack, every relationship, every opportunity, every experience you meet is a projection of the images and assumptions you carry within. Change the image and the world must change in response, not out of magic, but out of law. A spiritual law that does not fail, that does not discriminate, and that always works. Whether you believe in it or not, there is no limitation that does not begin in imagination. And there is no freedom that cannot be born there. If you imagine yourself as stuck, poor, unloved, unnoticed, you may live a lifetime trying to escape that condition through action alone. But no amount of action can override the script you are holding inside. The action will always bend to fit the pattern of your belief. That is why people repeat cycles, why they sabotage success, why they find themselves attracting the same kinds of relationships, problems, and outcomes. Because they never change the movie playing in their mind. And as long as that movie is the same, the screen of life cannot help but reflect it. You must begin then by living within, by going daily into the sanctuary of imagination, not to escape, but to create. You must see yourself already living the life you desire, already holding the outcome you crave, already being the person you long to become. You must see it, feel it, breathe in it, walk in it, until it is more real to you than the absence of it. This is not delusion, it is discipline. It is the ability to dwell in the unseen until it becomes seen. The world may not yet see it, but you do, and that sight is what calls it forth. Most people use their imagination unconsciously and destructively. They imagine what can go wrong, they imagine being rejected, they imagine failing. They imagine being unworthy of what they seek, and then they wonder why life meets them with hardship. But you are not most people. You are awakening. You are seeing now that you are the writer, the director, and the actor all at once. That what you focus on internally with emotion becomes a command, a decree, a living force that gathers the circumstances and people needed to bring that vision into your world. So how do you begin to use this power? You begin in quiet. You close your eyes, not to shut out the world, but to open the inner one. You see yourself in the scene of your desire, already in possession, already victorious, already healed, already loved. And you feel the emotions that would come if that were true right now. You do not wait for the feeling, you generate it. You live from it. You assume it. And as you do, something profound takes place. The subconscious mind, which is the bridge between spirit and matter, begins to accept this inner scene as reality. Once the subconscious accepts it, your entire energy shifts. You speak differently, you walk differently, you attract differently. Without even trying, you begin to move in ways that align with your vision. People respond to you differently because you are radiating a new frequency. You don't have to announce it. You don't have to explain yourself. The world picks up on your inner transformation. And slowly or suddenly, the imagined becomes tangible. But it begins with devotion to the inner picture. Not just a fleeting daydream, but a commitment to dwell in the state of the wish fulfilled. And the way to dwell is not through effort, but through feeling. Feeling is the glue that holds the image in place. Feeling is the bridge between thought and form. You must ask yourself, not just what do I want, but what would it feel like if I had it right now? And then you relax into that feeling. You marinate in it. You let it wash over you until your body believes it's true, even if your senses do not yet agree. And when doubt comes, as it will, you return. You do not argue with the doubt. You do not try to force it away. You simply go back to your vision. You remind yourself, what I see within is what I will live without. You trust that the law does not fail. You do not need to chase proof. You are the proof in progress. And the more loyal you are to your imagination, the more loyal reality will be to you. It is not your job to figure out how it will come. It is not your job to decide the path. It is only your job to persist in the image. The path will rise to meet your vibration. The people, the moments, the open doors, they will all show up in harmony with the world you have been living in, within. You don't need permission. You don't need to wait for conditions to be perfect. The moment you feel it real, you plant the seed. And seeds never stay buried. They rise. They break through the surface. They seek the light. Your only responsibility is to protect the garden of your mind, to nourish it with faith, to prune the weeds of fear and doubt, to water it with daily imagination, and to rest in the knowing that every vision, seen with conviction, is already on its way. The world you long for does not exist out there. It exists within you. And the more vividly and calmly you hold it, the more quickly it will appear. You don't have to hope it will come true. You have to know that it already is. That the life you imagine is not a fantasy. It is a preview, a glimpse of what is being prepared for you. But you must meet it halfway. Not with striving, but with stillness. Not with pleading, but with presence. With faith so deep, it becomes your new reality long before the world can catch up. Feeling is not a step in the process, it is the process. The moment you understand that feeling is the creative key, the axis upon which manifestation turns, your entire relationship with your desires changes. You stop waiting, you stop hoping, you stop asking when or how. You move into the most powerful space a person can inhabit, the state of already having. And this state is not defined by circumstance, it's defined by emotion. You do not manifest by thinking about what you want. You manifest by feeling what it would be like if it were already yours. And holding that feeling until it becomes the atmosphere you live in. The mistake many make is this. They wait to feel good until something happens. They wait to feel secure until they see evidence. They wait to feel loved until someone shows up. But this is backwards. You do not feel it after it appears. You feel it so that it appears. The outer is always the echo, the reflection, the delayed response to what has already happened in consciousness. So if you're waiting to feel rich, waiting to feel chosen, waiting to feel successful, you are postponing the manifestation of those very things. You are saying with your vibration, it's not here yet. And so the universe mirrors that lack back to you. Feeling is the secret because it bypasses the surface mind. It speaks directly to the subconscious, the creative engine of your life. The subconscious does not respond to words alone. It responds to conviction, to inner experience, to sensation. You can affirm 1,000 times, I am wealthy. But if your emotional state says otherwise, nothing will shift. But if you close your eyes and in stillness begin to embody the feeling of wealth, of safety, of overflow, of freedom, the subconscious begins to accept that state as true. And once accepted, it orchestrates the conditions that match it. This is not about pretending. It's not about lying to yourself. It's about choosing the dominant feeling you want to live in and returning to it consistently until it becomes more familiar than fear. It's about letting go of the need for external validation and anchoring yourself in the reality of your own inner world, because your inner world is not imagination, it's causation. The physical world is just the effect. The real power is in how you feel right now, even with no evidence, especially with no evidence. To feel something real, you don't need the whole picture. You don't need to know how it will come or who it will come through or what day it will arrive. You only need to conjure the essence of what you desire. If it's love, you feel cherished. You feel seen, you feel chosen. If it's abundance, you feel secure, you feel generous, you feel supported. You immerse yourself in the emotion of the experience as though you're already living in it. And the deeper you go into that feeling, the more magnetic you become. The world doesn't respond to your wishes, it responds to your state. And the state is not changed by force, it's changed by surrender. By allowing yourself to drop the armor of doubt and simply feel what it would be like to have it now. Not in the future, not when things improve, but now. You sit with that feeling, you breathe it in, you let it take over your being, and from that place you begin to speak differently, move differently, choose differently. Not because you're trying to force something, but because your inner reality has shifted. Think of it like tuning a radio. You don't have to yell at the radio to change the station, you simply turn the dial. That dial is your emotional state. When you tune into the feeling of the thing already done, you align with the frequency where it already exists. And once you're on that frequency, you start picking up signals you couldn't hear before. Ideas, encounters, timing, favor. It's not about luck, it's about resonance. Life meets you at your level of feeling, not your level of need. People often say, I want this so badly, thinking that desire alone is enough. But raw desire without the matching feeling often creates more lack. It amplifies the absence of the thing. It stirs up impatience and frustration. True desire, when it is productive, is paired with the feeling of its fulfillment. It is not a craving, but a knowing, a quiet joy, a sense of arrival, even in the waiting. And that arrival is not passive, it is magnetic. It pulls the pieces of your reality together like a divine puzzle, where every piece knows exactly where it belongs. You don't need to control every detail, you just need to stay in the state. And the state is anchored by feeling. You protect it like a treasure, you return to it like a sanctuary. Every time the world distracts you, tempts you to doubt, you pause and feel it again. You remind yourself that this is your true home, the inner reality you've chosen to dwell in. And because you've chosen it, the outer world will follow. Not maybe, not someday, but as a certainty. Because nothing that is sustained internally with true feeling can be denied externally for long. This is why your emotions matter more than your circumstances. Why your internal atmosphere is more important than what anyone says or does. You could be surrounded by lack and still feel rich. Surrounded by rejection and still feel loved. Surrounded by limitation and still feel free. And if you hold that feeling, not with tension but with peace, the outer world will yield. It must, because it was never in control to begin with. You always were. You are not a beggar in the kingdom of the universe, you are its heir. But to claim your inheritance, you must feel like the one who already possesses it. And that begins the moment you stop waiting and start feeling, not for proof, but because you finally remember who you are. When you relax into your desire instead of reaching for it in desperation, you align yourself with the quiet intelligence of the universe. You align with timing that is not rushed, not chaotic, not pressured by fear, but perfect. Divinely orchestrated, precisely unfolding. The reason most people miss what they seek is not because the universe says no. It's because their impatience drowns out what was already being prepared. They knock down doors that were already opening gently. They demand answers while the solution was unfolding in silence. There is a rhythm to life, a cadence to creation, and it does not respond well to force. It responds to trust. And trust only grows in stillness. When you try to force a manifestation, you are declaring, consciously or unconsciously, that it's not happening, that it's delayed, that it's missing. And from this inner declaration, you begin to grasp, push, and panic. You begin to interfere with what was already forming. You no longer cooperate with the unseen process. You try to dominate it. But manifestation is not a battlefield. It's a relationship, a sacred partnership between your consciousness and the unseen laws that shape your world. When you trust those laws, you no longer question whether your desire is coming. You simply rest, knowing that it must. This trust does not mean you sit idle, but it does mean you stop worrying. You stop micromanaging. You stop dissecting the how and when. Instead, you relax into the awareness that what you have felt within is on its way, carried by forces that know more than your surface mind ever could. You stop trying to make things happen and begin allowing them to happen, and that allowance is what moves things faster. The paradox is this: the more you try to speed it up, the more you slow it down. But the more you surrender to divine timing, the more effortlessly things fall into place. There are currents beneath the surface of your life. currents that only move when you're still enough to feel them. When you're caught in fear, you thrash, you resist, you fight the flow. But when you're calm, you can sense the direction, the pull, the subtle movement, guiding you to where you need to be. Divine timing is not always your timing, but it is always the right timing. And when you align with it, you no longer miss opportunities because you're too busy panicking. You see them, you're ready for them. Because you trusted that the preparation, the waiting, the quiet seasons, they all had purpose. People often believe that if they're not doing something every moment, they're falling behind. But what if the most powerful thing you could do is to stop and listen? What if silence is where your answer has been waiting? What if the invisible arrangements that will deliver your desire are already in motion, but they need your stillness to land? There is a grace that flows when you're not fighting against time, when you're not cursing the delay or doubting the process. And in that grace, doors open in ways that action alone could never accomplish. The relaxed mind is not inactive, it is in harmony. It knows that inspired action will come, but it doesn't panic if it hasn't arrived yet. It knows that sometimes the waiting is not punishment, it's alignment. It's life moving people, events, and conditions into perfect placement so that when your desire arrives, it fits. Not forced, not fragile, but fully formed. When you are relaxed, you don't rush into the wrong relationship out of fear of loneliness. You don't accept the lesser opportunity because you're tired of waiting. You don't settle because you know that what you felt real inside is on its way, and it's worth the stillness it requires. There is power in knowing that the unseen is working for you even when nothing visible seems to be changing. There is maturity in staying steady while others are frantic. You become unshakable not because life is always smooth, but because you know what lies in you is greater than what's around you. You understand that every desire, when genuinely felt and assumed, sets into motion a divine orchestration. And your role is not to rush it, but to trust it. Not to chase it, but to relax into the feeling of it being done. And here's what happens when you do that. You begin to notice signs. A word spoken that confirms your vision, a coincidence that doesn't feel like coincidence, a sense of peace that replaces your urgency. These are not random. These are the signals that your vibration is aligned, that your inner world and the outer world are beginning to meet. And the less you interfere, the faster the merging becomes. The energy of desperation repels, but the energy of peace attracts. Your nervous system is not designed to manifest from stress. You cannot hear the quiet voice of guidance when your thoughts are screaming in panic. But when you slow down, when you soften your grip, when you begin to trust the unseen with more confidence than the seen, you step into flow. Not passive, but receptive. Not weak, but surrendered. This is not giving up. This is giving in to wisdom greater than your own, to a process more intricate than your mind can map, to a timing more divine than your calendar could ever plan. You may not see the results immediately, but the moment you drop the inner fight, you will feel the shift. And that feeling is your confirmation. That peace is your evidence, because peace always comes before manifestation. It is the inner sign that alignment has occurred. And once alignment is true, manifestation is simply a matter of time. So you stop measuring the clock. You stop counting the days. You stop wondering why it hasn't come. You already know it's coming. It was always coming. And now you finally become still enough to receive it. Your outer world is not a mystery. It is a mirror. It reflects back to you not what you ask for in words, but what you continuously accept in feeling. Everything you see around you, your relationships, your finances, your health, your opportunities, is responding to the dominant emotional atmosphere you carry within. If you live in the feeling of peace, the world becomes more peaceful. If you live in the feeling of lack, the world reflects limitation. If you live in the quiet confidence of abundance, people and events begin to align with prosperity. This is not imagination detached from life. This is how life itself is shaped. We have been taught to look outward first, to try to control circumstances, rearrange events, convince people, or wait for the world to offer proof before we believe something can change. But this approach is backwards. The outer does not change the inner changes the outer. The moment you understand that, you stop reacting and start creating. You stop asking the world to treat you differently and begin treating yourself differently on the inside. And once that shift is genuine, everything else must shift with it. You don't have to convince anyone. You don't have to explain why you're different now. Your energy speaks for you. Your energy is your command. You may have noticed that when you are in a bad mood, it feels like the whole world reflects it. People seem rude, obstacles appear, even technology fails. And when you are joyful, calm, grounded, things seem to work in your favor. This is not coincidence. This is a feedback loop. Life responds to your vibration, and your vibration is dictated by your emotional state, not your words, not your appearance, not your effort, but the atmosphere you carry inside without even realizing it. To change your life, you must become deeply conscious of that atmosphere. You must treat your inner state with the same importance as your goals. What are you feeling most of the time? Are you carrying a quiet dread, a subtle doubt, a low-level anxiety that you've come to accept as normal? If so, the world is responding accordingly. But the good news is that you can shift it immediately, not by changing your surroundings, but by changing the feeling that you hold. And that change begins with choice. A choice to no longer wait for something out there to change, but to claim the change here, now, inside. You begin to ask yourself powerful questions. What does the version of me who has already received the desire feel like? How does that version think, walk, speak, react? And you start practicing that energy. Not once, not for 5 minutes, but consistently, until it becomes your default, your dwelling place, your home. You stop treating your desire as something far away and begin living from it as if it were already here. And the more you do this, the more the mirror shifts, because the mirror cannot help but follow the subject. This is not acting, this is aligning. You are not faking anything. You are waking up to the truth that what you repeatedly feel becomes what you eventually experience. You are not lying to yourself when you feel loved before someone shows up. You are not pretending when you feel wealthy before your account reflects it. You are declaring your reality from a higher level of awareness. And as you hold to that state, life organizes itself to prove you right, not because you forced it, but because you lived it internally. The mistake people often make is trying to change the outer world first. They think if they get the right job, then they'll feel successful. If they meet the right person, then they'll feel worthy. If they have enough money, then they'll feel safe. But this makes them prisoners of circumstance. Their emotions are held hostage by things they cannot control, and so they wait. They wait for a future that may never come, all while holding on to a present emotional state that blocks the very things they're asking for. But when you decide to reverse this pattern, to feel now what you want to feel later, you free yourself. You take back your power. You realize that you don't have to wait to feel secure. You can embody it now. You don't have to wait to feel joyful. You can breathe it in now. And from that inner freedom, the outer world begins to shift, not because you escaped reality, but because you created a new one, a reality that reflects the state you dared to live in, regardless of appearances. Even if nothing around you confirms your new feeling, you hold it, you protect it, you nurture it, because it is real to you. It's not a hope, it's a knowing. And in time, that knowing carves a path. The world cannot resist the energy of someone who has already become what they desire. That kind of person does not beg. They don't chase. They don't argue with what is. They remain steady, centered, composed. And that composure becomes magnetic. It draws people, opportunities, and events that match the inner reality. Good evening, my friends. Tonight we are going to go deeper than we have ever gone before into the one thing that determines whether your desire manifests or remains forever a fantasy. Tonight I am going to take you into the very heart of manifestation itself. Tonight you are going to understand, truly understand for the first time what it means to feel. You have heard it 1,000 times. Feeling is the secret. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Feel it real. Every teacher says it. Every book repeats it. And yet most of you still do not know what this means. You think you do. You believe you are doing it, but you are not. And that is why your desires remain unfulfilled. Tonight that changes. Tonight I am going to show you what feeling actually is, what it is not, and how to master it so completely that manifestation becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Let me start by showing you what you are doing wrong. And I know you are doing it wrong because if you were doing it right, you would already have everything you desire. So let me show you the mistake nearly everyone makes. When I tell you to feel your desire fulfilled, what do? You try to generate an emotion. You try to feel happy. You try to feel excited. You try to feel grateful. You sit there and you work yourself up into an emotional state. And you think, yes, I am feeling it. I am so happy. I am so excited. And you do this for 5 minutes, maybe 10. And then you open your eyes and you go about your day feeling quite proud of yourself for doing the work. And nothing manifests. Days pass, weeks pass, months pass, and you wonder, but I felt it. I felt so happy when I imagined having my desire. Why is it not here? I will tell you why. Because you were feeling the wrong thing. Happiness is not the feeling. Excitement is not the feeling. Gratitude, joy, relief, peace. None of these emotions are the feeling. These are the effects of the feeling. But they are not the feeling itself. Let me give you an aha moment right now. Stop everything you think you know and listen carefully. The feeling is not an emotion. The feeling is a sense of being. Let that sink in. The feeling is not an emotion. The feeling is a sense of being. When I say assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, I do not mean feel happy about your wish being fulfilled. I mean feel yourself to be the person who has your wish fulfilled. Do you see the difference? One is an emotion. The other is an identity. One is a temporary state you can conjure up and then lose 5 minutes later. The other is a fundamental shift in who you know yourself to be. Now let me go deeper. Let me show you what this feeling truly is, because until you understand this, you cannot master it. The feeling is the inner knowing that you are something. It is the silent, wordless conviction of being. Think about how you feel yourself to be human right now, not the emotion of being human. The sense of being human. It is not something you have to convince yourself of. It is not something you try to feel. It is simply what you are. You are human. This is not a hope. This is not a belief. This is a knowing so deep, so automatic, so natural that you never question it. This is the feeling you must have about your desire. Not I feel happy imagining I am wealthy, but I am wealthy. Not the emotion of wealth, the being of wealth, the identity of wealth, the naturalness of wealth. Let me show you how this works in your current reality. Right now, you feel yourself to be a certain kind of person. Perhaps you feel yourself to be someone who struggles with money. This is not an emotion. You do not wake up every morning and feel sad about money. The feeling is deeper than that. It is the silent assumption running beneath all your thoughts. I am someone who struggles with money. This is your sense of being regarding money. And because you feel yourself to be this, because this is your inner knowing, your world reflects it perfectly. Circumstances arise that match this feeling. Bills come. Expenses appear. Opportunities slip away. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because your world must reflect the person you feel yourself to be. When you want to manifest wealth, you cannot simply feel happy about the idea of being wealthy while continuing to feel yourself to be someone who struggles. The happy feeling is temporary. It fades, but the deep feeling of being that persists, and the persistent feeling is what creates. So the question is not, did I feel happy when I visualized? The question is, who do I feel myself to be? Let me take you even deeper now. There are two levels of feeling, and you must understand both. The first level is what I call surface feeling. This is emotion, happiness, excitement, gratitude, relief. These are real. These are valid. These can be part of the experience. But they are not the foundation. They are the decoration on the house, not the house itself. The second level is what I call foundational feeling. This is identity. This is being. This is the deep, silent knowing of what you are. And this is what creates your reality. Most of you are working only with surface feeling. You generate emotions during your practice and think you have done the work. But the moment you stop focusing, the emotion fades and you return to your foundational feeling, which has not changed at all. You still feel yourself to be the person who does not have, who is waiting, who is hoping. And so nothing changes in your outer world because nothing changed in your inner being. But when you shift the foundational feeling, when you change who you feel yourself to be at the deepest level, everything in your outer world must shift to match. This is law. This is absolute. This cannot fail. So how do you shift foundational feeling? How do you change not just what you feel about something, but who you feel yourself to be? That is what I am going to teach you now. The secret to mastering feeling is understanding that feeling is not something you do. Feeling is something you are. You do not do being human. You are human. You do not do having hands. You have hands. The having is natural, automatic, assumed. There is no effort in it. This is what you must achieve with your desire. Not doing the feeling of having it, but being the person who has it. And the difference between doing and being is everything. Let me show you how to move from doing to being. Right now, I want you to think about something you already have. Something simple. Perhaps you have a bed. Perhaps you have a favorite cup. Perhaps you have a particular item of clothing you love. Choose something you have without question. Now, how do you feel about having this thing? Notice that you do not have to generate a feeling. You do not have to convince yourself you have it. You do not have to visualize having it. You simply know you have it. This knowing is so natural, so assumed, so automatic, that you never think about it. This is the feeling you must have about your desire. Not I am trying to feel like I have wealth, but I have wealth. The knowing is simple, natural, assumed. It requires no effort. It is just what is. But how do you get to this place of natural knowing when your current circumstances scream the opposite? How do you feel yourself to be wealthy when your bank account is empty? How do you feel yourself to be loved when you sleep alone? How do you feel yourself to be healthy when your body is sick? This is where most people give up. They say, but Neville, I cannot feel wealthy when I have no money. I cannot feel loved when I am alone. The circumstances contradict the feeling. And this is where I must wake you up to the truth. The circumstances do not create the feeling. The feeling creates the circumstances. You think you will feel wealthy when you have money. But you will have money when you feel wealthy. You think you will feel loved when someone loves you. But someone will love you when you feel loved. You think you will feel healthy when your body heals. But your body will heal when you feel healthy. The feeling must come first, always. And the feeling is not dependent on circumstances. The feeling is dependent only on your imagination. Now let me teach you how to actually enter the feeling. How to shift from the person you have been feeling yourself to be to the person you desire to feel yourself to be. This is not about emotion. This is not about trying. This is about a gentle shift in awareness, a subtle turning of attention that changes everything. Close your eyes for a moment. I want you to feel who you are right now. Not think about who you are. Feel who you are. Notice the silent sense of self that exists beneath all your thoughts. This is you. This is your current sense of being. Now I want you to notice something. This sense of self, this feeling of being who you are, it is not solid, it is not fixed. It is actually quite fluid. You can shift it simply by shifting your awareness. Think about a time in your life when you felt completely different than you do now. Perhaps a time when you felt confident, powerful, certain. For just a moment, remember that version of you, not the circumstances of that time, but the sense of self, the feeling of being that person. Do you notice that just by remembering, just by turning your attention to that version of you, something shifts? You feel different. Not dramatically, not with great emotion, but there is a subtle shift in your sense of being. This is what I want you to understand. You can shift who you feel yourself to be simply by shifting your attention. And when you shift who you feel yourself to be, you shift what you create. So here is the practice. When you want to manifest something, do not try to generate emotion about having it. Instead, gently shift your awareness to being the person who has it. How do you do this? You imagine. But not in the way you have been imagining. Not creating a scene and watching yourself in it, but stepping into the scene and being yourself in it. Let me give you an example. Suppose you desire wealth. Most of you would visualize money. Perhaps see yourself looking at a bank statement. Maybe imagine yourself buying something expensive. And you would try to feel excited or happy or grateful about this. But this is external. You are watching yourself have wealth. You are feeling emotions about the idea of wealth. But you are not being wealthy. Instead, I want you to imagine being the wealthy version of you. Not doing wealthy things. Being the wealthy person. Close your eyes and ask yourself, how does a wealthy person feel about themselves? Not about their money. About themselves. What is their sense of self? What is their internal state? A wealthy person feels secure. Not because they have money, but as a fundamental sense of self. Security is who they are. A wealthy person feels free. They feel relaxed. They feel like they have options. They feel like they are enough. They feel valuable. They feel worthy. These are not emotions. These are states of being. And you can enter these states right now without a single dollar in your bank account, simply by shifting your awareness. Try it now. Close your eyes and say to yourself, I am secure, I am free, I have options, I am valuable, I am worthy. Not as affirmations you are trying to believe, but as a gentle recognition of a version of you that already exists in imagination. Feel how this version of you moves through the world. Feel how this version of you thinks about money. Feel how this version of you makes decisions. Feel how this version of you speaks to others. You are not trying to convince yourself of anything. You are simply being this version of you. And the more you practice being this version, the more natural it becomes. And the more natural it becomes, the more your outer world shifts to match who you are being. Let me show you the crucial difference between trying to feel and actually feeling, because this is where most people get stuck. When you try to feel, there is effort, there is reaching, there is a sense of, I do not have this yet, but I am trying to convince myself I do. This effort itself is the problem, because effort implies lack. You only try to feel what you do not already feel. You only try to be what you are not already being. But when you simply are, there is no effort. There is just a gentle resting in the state. It is like when you sit in a chair. You do not try to sit. You do not convince yourself you are sitting. You simply sit. And the sitting is natural, easy, effortless. This is how feeling your desire fulfilled should be. Natural, easy, effortless. You are simply resting in the state of being the person who has your desire. Here is how you know you are trying versus being. If there is strain, you are trying. If there is peace, you are being. If you are working hard to maintain the feeling, you are trying. If the feeling is simply there, quiet and natural, you are being. Most of you are exhausting yourselves trying to feel, and then you wonder why the feeling does not last. It does not last because you are treating it like a doing instead of a being. You are treating it like an activity you must perform, instead of a state you simply inhabit. Now let me give you another aha moment. You cannot lose a state of being. You can only step out of it. The state is always there. You are simply choosing which state to inhabit with your awareness. Right now, infinite states exist. The state of being wealthy exists. The state of being loved exists. The state of being healthy exists. They are not somewhere in the future. They are here now in consciousness. And you can step into any of them simply by turning your awareness to them. When you lose the feeling, you have not actually lost anything. You have simply shifted your awareness back to the old state. The new state is still there. You have just stopped being it. So mastering the feeling is not about holding on to something. It is about learning to continuously return your awareness to the state you wish to inhabit, over and over, gently, naturally, until being in that state becomes more natural than being in the old state. Now let me give you the test that tells you whether you have truly mastered the feeling or whether you are still just playing with surface emotions. The test is this. Does it feel natural? When you think about your desire, does it feel natural to have it? Not exciting, not thrilling, natural. Like of course you have it. Like it is simply what is. Think about the things you already have. They feel natural. You do not get excited thinking about them. You do not need to convince yourself you have them. You simply know you have them. And the knowing is quiet, calm, natural. This is what your desire must feel like. Not, oh my God, I am so excited, I have this. But of course I have this. This is just how things are. When the desire feels natural, you have mastered the feeling. When it still feels exciting or unbelievable, you are still working with surface emotion, not foundational being. Here is another test. Can you forget about it? Not in the sense of giving up on it, but in the sense of not needing to constantly think about it, or check for it, or monitor it. Things you truly have you can forget about. You do not spend all day thinking about your bed or your shoes or your name. You have them. They are yours. You can forget about them and go about your life. But things you are trying to manifest, you cannot forget about. You obsess over them. You check for them. You wonder when they will arrive. This constant checking is proof that you have not truly felt yourself to be the person who has them. Because the person who has them does not check. They already know. So when you can think about your desire with the same casual naturalness that you think about anything else you possess, you have mastered the feeling. When you can go hours or days without obsessing over whether it is coming, you have mastered the feeling. When the having of it feels so natural that you sometimes forget you once did not have it, you have mastered the feeling. Now let me give you a specific technique for developing this natural feeling, for moving from trying to being, for saturating yourself so completely in the state that it becomes your new normal. I call this saturation because you are going to saturate your consciousness with the state of being the person who has your desire, until that state becomes as natural as breathing. Here is how you do it. You are going to spend one full day, just one day to start, being the person who has your desire, not visualizing about having it, not hoping you will have it, being the person who has it. From the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep, you are going to move through your day as this person. You are going to think their thoughts. You are going to make their decisions. You are going to respond to situations as they would respond. You are going to inhabit their state of being completely. This does not mean you pretend you see money in your account when you do not. This does not mean you act as if externally. This means you feel yourself to be internally the person who has what you desire, and you let that internal state inform how you move through your day. Let me show you how this works practically. Suppose you desire wealth. For one day, you are going to feel yourself to be a wealthy person, not someone trying to become wealthy. Not someone hoping to be wealthy, a wealthy person. When you wake up as a wealthy person. How does a wealthy person feel when they wake up? Probably secure, relaxed, free. Feel this. Not as an emotion you generate, but as a state you inhabit.
you are a wealthy person. This is who you are today. When you go about your morning routine, you do so as a wealthy person. You shower as someone who has financial freedom. You dress as someone who feels valuable and worthy. You eat breakfast as someone who knows they have options and resources. Notice I am not saying pretend to be rich. I am saying be the person who feels wealthy. There is a difference. Being wealthy is an internal state. It is a sense of self. It is a feeling of security, freedom, worth. And you can feel this right now regardless of your bank account. Throughout your day, every decision you make it from this state. Every thought you think it from this person. Every interaction you have it as this version of you. And here is what will happen. At first it will feel strange. Your old patterns will try to reassert themselves. Old thoughts will come. Old reactions will arise. But each time they do, you simply return to the state. You remind yourself, I am a wealthy person. This is who I am today. And you feel yourself to be that again. Do this for one full day. Not perfectly. You will slip dozens of times, but each time you slip, you return. Gently, without judgment. You just return to being the person, and something remarkable will happen. By the end of that day, the state will feel more natural. The being of it will feel more real. You will have moments where you forget you are practicing, and you simply are this person. This is saturation. You are saturating your consciousness with the new state. And the more you saturate, the more natural it becomes. And the more natural it becomes, the more automatically you create from it. Do this for one day, then do it again the next day. Then again and again, until being this person feels more natural than being the old person. Until you are no longer returning to the state because you never left it. This is how you master the feeling. Not through intense visualization sessions. Not through emotional manipulation, but through gentle, consistent saturation in the state of being what you desire to be. Let me bring everything together now. With the ultimate truth about feeling, the truth that, when fully understood, makes manifestation effortless. You are not trying to feel your desires fulfilled. You are feeling yourself to be the person whose desires fulfilled. These sound similar, but they are completely different. One is about the desire, the other is about you. One is external, the other is internal. One is temporary, the other is foundational. Your desire is just a reflection of who you feel yourself to be. Wealthy people have wealth, not because they are lucky, but because they feel themselves to be wealthy people. Loved people experience love, not because they found the right person, but because they feel themselves to be lovable. Successful people achieve success not because they worked harder, but because they feel themselves to be successful. So stop focusing on the desire. Start focusing on who you are being. Stop trying to feel like you have it. Start being the person who has it. And the having will follow automatically, inevitably, because the outer world must reflect the inner being. Tonight you have one assignment. Before you sleep, I want you to answer this question with brutal honesty. Who do I feel myself to be? Not who do you hope to be? Not who do you try to be? Who do you actually genuinely deeply feel yourself to be when no one is watching, when you are alone with your thoughts, when you are not performing or pretending? Write it down. Look at it. This is what you are creating. This is what your world is reflecting. Then ask yourself, who do I want to feel myself to be? Not what do I want to have? Who do I want to be? What kind of person has the life I desire? What is their sense of self? What is their foundational feeling? And then, starting tomorrow, you are going to practice being this person. Not perfectly, not constantly, but consciously, deliberately, persistently. You are going to shift your awareness to this version of you, and you are going to practice being them until being them feels more natural than being who you were. This is the work. This is the practice. This is mastering the feeling. The feeling is not emotion. The feeling is not excitement. The feeling is not trying. The feeling is being. You master the feeling by learning to be the person who has your desire, instead of trying to feel emotions about your desire. You master the feeling by saturating yourself in the state until it becomes natural. You master the feeling by changing your inner conversation until it matches the identity you wish to embody. You master the feeling by making it so natural that you forget you once did not have what you now have. Do this, and everything you desire must manifest. Not because you hoped hard enough, not because you visualized perfectly, but because you became the person to whom these things naturally belong. You are not waiting to have. You are learning to be. And being always precedes having. Master the feeling, and you master your reality. Thank you and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I will see you in the next video.